Irina Lutsenko.
I teach a lot of writing courses. I'm a participant of 3 exchange programs, American exchange programs. I'm a speaker at English language teaching events in Russia. We now have so much content.
Hey folks, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astra Muse. I'm your host, Muhammad Ali, here again. Today, I'm going to be talking to another awesome guest. And the person I'll be talking to is Miss Irina Lutsenko. Miss Irina, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. It's I'm super excited about today's episode because you have been involved in education for a few decades now, right? So I'm talking to someone with lots of experience. Yes. So I can't wait to ask you all the questions I got here. So, but before we do that, would you like to tell our audience a little about yourself?
Right. So my name is Irina Lutsenko. I am a teacher of English as a foreign language. I've been a teacher my whole life, my whole professional life since I graduated, which was 20 years ago. So today is this year is my anniversary, 20 years. I'm a huge fan of writing. I teach a lot of writing courses, different kinds of writing. I've taught in different contexts, in different formats. Now I teach online, and I'm a participant of 3 exchange programs, American exchange programs. I'm a speaker at English language teaching events in Russia. I speak on a regular basis. It terrifies me, but I do that anyway. I get out of my comfort zone. And I'm also a speaker at TESOL International Convention and Expo 2024 in Florida, Tampa, one of my proudest achievements of my career.
Wow, that was a full CV.
My CV is 6 pages long.
6 pages long.
It was a brief overview.
Yeah. So can we take a step back and talk a little about your early experience of learning English? So at what age did you start learning English?
At school, when I was, 5th grade, I don't remember how old I was, but I don't even consider that learning because back then you have to understand it was the 90s, the beginning of the 90s, and we had textbooks about, Lenin and Soviet families, and it was like the textbooks we have now, they are just wonderful, perfect. Yeah, so I don't consider that learning, but the first opportunity I got to learn it in depth, my parents actually signed me up for classes with a teacher, private classes with a teacher. And we had the first, these British books. And we had one of the first, I think I was one of the first people in the town. And I lived in a small town at that time. And this is where real learning started.
Yeah, so you were fortunate to have parents who helped you get started in your language learning journey.
Right. For some reason, they somehow realized that this is important. I didn't ask them to enroll me. They just did, and it worked out superbly.
So, and how did you feel about learning English at the time? Were you eager to learn it, or
I was. I was the person who was like, I was checking words in the dictionary. I was highlighting. I was taking notes. I was.
So, and when did you get serious about learning English? Like, say, when you realized that English was going to be your, full-time job one day?
It's hard to say. Well, when I was with the tutor and it was going well, and I decided to enroll at university. Yeah, about that time.
Yeah, and so how would you compare, the experience of learning English now to then? How much things changed?
Dramatically. We now have so much content. When I was beginning to learn English, we had cassettes, cassette players, and the tapes were very expensive and they were few and far between. And the books were very expensive and you had to kind of order them beforehand. Movies, if somebody got a movie on a VHS tape, It was like a huge event. We had a movie party, and now everything is available. You can listen to. I listen to podcasts every day. I just have wireless headphones. I'm cooking. I'm listening to something in English, and also like dictionaries, for example. You can check one word in 5 dictionaries in like 1 minute. Corpora. Just Google something, how the word is used. So it's just insane how much easier and more exciting it is to learn English now.
Yeah, today I was talking actually about just this in my class. Students ask me why today so many students are getting 7.5, 8, 8.5s, 9s, even. Yeah. Right? When a decade ago, if someone got a 7, and that would be sensational, right?
Exactly.
And my explanation to that was not only this technology that's helped us a lot in many ways to acquire this language, but also this cultural change that's taking place. Because I kind of feel like English is taking over. Like has it always been like that? Did you feel that influence back then in the 90s?
I think it was a bit different because at that time we were I was very curious. Like, you probably have met Americans, right? And you've been to the US, right? But, back many years ago, decades ago, like there was no such thing as I've been to an English-speaking country. I've met an American. So we were very, very curious about everything at that time. Is English taking over? I think it's definitely replacing other languages, for sure. I guess maybe it's just my life. In my life, there is a lot of English. My students' life also. Yeah, other people, not sure.
Like, do many people in Russia speak English? Or can speak English, say, at the conversational level? Because I see this thing happening in Uzbekistan right now. So, like, 8 out of 10 people you meet, you talk to, they have IELTS.
Cool. And this is awesome. And this is absolutely awesome. And I think this should be so inspiring. I'm very inspired by the Uzbek IELTS community. Yeah. It's very vibrant and people are eager to learn. I was walking around the school, people have notebooks and they're learning something, and this is inspiring. In Russia, it's hard to say because I'm in this environment. I've been in teaching my whole life. So I think, yes, I think so. But whether it is really true or just my environment, I don't know.
Right. And if it ever happened, do you think it'd be a positive change or negative change?
I think it would be a positive change.
If the entire world speaks English, right?
Well, 2 languages, right? English and their native language.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're kind of headed towards a world where almost everyone's going to be multilingual.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
For example, I grew up in a family where we spoke 2-3 languages. Now this is the 4th. I talk to my brothers in English, strictly English. Yeah. But we can sometimes switch to other languages. But I don't remember when it was the last time it happened. That was such a long time ago. Yeah.
And this, I find this also very inspiring. And also, people here speak 4 languages, and they're very distinct languages. Like Russian is Slavic, English is Germanic, Tajik is like Persian, and Uzbek. I was reading about, I was so surprised. And Uzbek is Turkic, completely distinct languages, and this is so inspiring to me.
Yeah, it is. So, and how important is it, do you think, for people to become multilingual in today's world? Has it become like sort of a necessity?
A huge advantage, definitely. A necessity depends on the kind of life the person is living. If they don't do anything, don't go anywhere, maybe not, but...
Because I kind of feel like, as someone who knows different languages, I think of myself now and me in the past, and I realized that I would have been so misinformed if I knew only one language.
Right.
Yeah, right. I think that's something really important to keep in mind. If you're someone who's hesitant to take up another language, I think you should.
Absolutely. You should. You will have access to more information, authentic information, first-hand information. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I'd love to ask you some questions about your teaching approach as well. And obviously, you have a lot of experience under your belt. So it's curious for me and our audience here to hear from you about your teaching experience. So what is your approach in the classroom? How do you go about teaching?
There is one thing that we share. I've been told that you speak absolutely no other languages but English.
Yeah.
In my case, before we start, I send my students a list of rules. And I have one of the rules goes, no Russian must be used in the classroom or outside, like when you check a new word. And I don't even know about it, so I prohibit that. Even though I don't know if they might, but I still prohibit that anyway. So because this became really important to me after I went to the US. And people often underestimate how translation takes time. Seconds, milliseconds probably. But still, it's an obstacle in communication. And it's after the US that I started doing that. Because live interaction, you don't have the seconds to translate in your mind. You can if you are in a pinch, but then it's a different kind of communication. I also place a lot of responsibility or autonomy onto students. I expect them to, like, if there is a word they don't know, they should check it on their own. They should check it in 3 dictionaries, explore the word. They don't need me for that. They have excellent dictionaries out there, different dictionaries, British, American, I don't know, check the pronunciation, check the collocations, things like that. So I expect students to take the initiative also in this regard. What else? Because, it's a bit difficult to say, like, what is your approach? And some things I just do. And you don't notice air just because the fish don't notice water. I do certain things, and sometimes people tell me, oh, you do this and this is unusual. And like, okay, but it's usual to me.
Yeah, right. What's something, one comment you got from other people? They say you do strange things. Like, can you share one of those comments?
Ooh,
something unusual about your approach.
Off the top of my head, it's a bit hard to say.
Like with me, when I'm teaching a class, people tell me that I'm too laid back. Yeah, I don't know if you felt that way today in the class. I really take my time. I try not to rush things. Like today, that one sample answer I wrote on TV. Yeah, it took us probably 5-10 minutes, but I'd rather do one answer and to perfection than try 5 or 10 different, bad answers.
Right, but it wasn't a laid back approach because I saw that you were listening. And you were taking notes, and you were noticing, like like the pronunciation of a student mispronounced the word, like, and you were noticing, and it was not laid back. Maybe it looked like laid back, but it was
because I know most teachers around here they're simply pressed for time because the class time is so limited. Usually, in most schools out there, it's 80 minutes long, but here it's sometimes 3 hours. Yeah.
Right, and that's a good very, very intensive, and
which is something I get told a lot. Like, you're too laid back, you're too slow. I got to speed up a little. But I understand sometimes shortcoming because there are so many students and they have to wait until they get their turn. And probably that's something you noticed. They were sitting there, and some were bored, some were completely zoned out, not paying attention.
Okay, and some were revising, they were looking at their phone, but they were looking at their notes.
Yeah. So do you ever get a comment like that about your approach? Do you ever get told something you do in the classroom is unorthodox, not quite conventional?
I don't know. Some people tell me that I've been told that I'm intimidating, but also I've been told that I find a good balance between I'm not too soft, and I tell people the truth, but at the same time it's not like I trash people or people's writing. So I've been told, like, this is a good balance. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question real quick? You ever got told this by Alisher, your favorite student?
No.
How would you describe him as a student?
He is absolutely awesome as a student. Really, I mean, I'm not just saying
no
it.
Caps.
What makes him? He's very, he's very curious in terms of like, what is this? What is that? Why? Like, I've heard this. Irina, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And another thing I appreciate, it might sound counterintuitive, but he writes messages in the chat. And I feel like the person is interested, because if the chat is absolutely silent, then it's like no one is interested in my homework, no one is interested in my, lexical items or something. And I appreciate when he's always asking, like he's paying attention, he's appreciating what is happening. What else? He's very active. If I give like a prompt to write in the classroom. Some people might be reluctant, but he's not. He's typing and then sending. He's the first person to send the answers. Very polite, very nice, very, I don't know, just all the best adjectives to a wonderful person.
Observant. I'd attribute this to the fact that he was so dialed in and focused on getting band 9. Oh, he had that burning desire to get that, to make that happen.
Right. Yeah. And this is useful, and this is what everyone should have, that burning desire. Yes, it's the driving force. It's absolutely amazing.
Because more often than not, what I see students sign up for our classes and they don't actually have an exact aim in mind. They're just doing it because everyone else is doing it. That's peer pressure.
Okay.
Or they get told to do that by their parents. So do you have many instances where you see students, they have to do it not because they need it, not because they want it?
Absolutely. A lot of people. And sometimes I even try to talk people out of taking an ask.
I do that too. I literally do that. I said, "Are you sure about this?"
Exactly.
Sure?
And I also try to talk and like, what is your goal? What is your expectation? And if the goal is unclear, like, oh, I want to kind of see what it is, then it's like, okay, no, because it's demanding. IELTS writing is demanding. IELTS preparation in general.
In what sense you would say it's demanding? I mean, I do have questions about writing for another chapter of our podcast, but I anyway would like to know how you mean that. Like, so how do you mean it's demanding?
First, there is this variety of tasks in writing task 1. A whole range of tasks, time change, no time change, percentages. And also IELTS tries to include unusual tasks from time to time. Maps are very different, processes are very different. But then also, like, you have to face your weaknesses. You have to face your flaws, and they're right there in front of you. My comments, for example, my highlighting on the document or something. This is also demanding in a different way. And then real fundamental change takes time. But, time is, who has the time? I want the result tomorrow. So it's demanding on many levels. Also, in writing a lot of things, I teach higher levels mostly. It's about small words, like the word it or the word this can be like a source of confusion, and then it's like all hell breaks loose. Like, why did you write this? It's not clear what it means. So.
But personally, with me, the biggest struggle in writing is staying focused, I guess. Focus. So because to write a comprehensive piece of work with lots of details and explanation, you have to be able to stay focused for a prolonged amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I know on those days when I'm focused, I can write essay 30 minutes, 20 minutes, no problem. 250, 300 word long essay. But on those days when my thoughts are all over the place.
Absolutely. And also you have to keep in mind the whole essay, because you have to know what you will be writing at the end before you even start. So it looks cohesive, the whole thing.
Yeah. So focus is such a big factor. All right, before we move on to another segment of our podcast, I'd like to ask you more questions about teaching experience. How would you define a great teacher? Have you had great teachers in the past? If so, what qualities they had in common?
It's hard. It's hard to say. Great teachers.
Would you describe yourself as a great teacher?
I've been told I am. I think that maybe the key, the quality that comes to mind first is the question I'm always often asking myself: am I doing something that's helpful?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this question is more important than any methodology, than any official qualification. Am I helping the student? And that's it. That's the foundation of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes like it's a whole spider web. Am I helping them in terms of the methodology? Am I helping them in terms of maybe they are struggling psychologically? They're the weakest student in the group, for example, or there is stress in their personal life. So and then it's a whole range of things. But it's like always like, am I helping? Am I doing something that the student needs?
Mm-hmm. So your ability to identify problems and address them promptly, as opposed to sticking to the traditional approach.
Exactly. Sometimes I've done things that are kind of a bit maybe run contrary to the official dogma of teaching, and it's not like I recommend breaking the rules all the time, but sometimes this is what the student needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's this. I'd probably say the same about the way I go about my teaching. Is I'm not afraid to, break rules. But so I know I'm supposed to be teaching them X, but I realize that's not the right time for the students. So we should probably go with Y or something else until the time they can cope with X.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about being self-employed. I'm self-employed. You have the space to break the rules.
Right. And what would you expect from a student? What would you expect from? What do you consider an excellent student?
Oh, a good student. Right. A good student is curious, asks questions, does the work, does the homework, does more than what's expected, is organized, is not losing, where is that document, where is that document, where is that page, where is another page. Yeah.
So in other words, they have to be Alisher.
Exactly. Just be Alisher.
Yeah. You wish everyone, all students could be just like Alisher.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
If you guys would like to know more about Alisher, please go back and watch our podcast featuring him. Okay.
Two episodes.
2 episodes.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably not going to like the first one, but second one comes highly recommended. Please do watch that one. It says Band 9 versus Band 9. Yeah. All right. And do you ever get bored of teaching? No lies.
I'm very aware of how doing the boring thing can be dangerous. It's a slippery slope. In IELTS, for example, it's easy when you realize you've already taught a certain line graph. You can always take another one. You can take an unusual one. So I try to add variety. And then if IELTS is boring, okay, I have my creative writing club. And since I stay diverse, I do not get bored. And I can, again, another bonus of being self-employed, I can come up with another project. Next time I like writing poetry. I do have a poetry course, but I'm not teaching it. Because now I'm collaborating with people who do projects for me. And
so where people can find out about all these projects you're involved in?
I have a page on VK. I have a Telegram channel, and I have an Instagram account.
Yeah, we'll be sure to leave all these links in the description box below. So if you guys are interested, please go and check them out. Yeah. And all right, now let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room, and that's writing.
Right.
So for the record, Miss Irina pulled off 8.5 in writing 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. That's mind-blowing. Yeah. And by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 times, I'm assuming.
I don't know. We'll see about that.
Okay, sure. Now, first, I'd like to ask you about the overall benefits of writing. So why do you specifically like writing? Why was it your personal favorite?
Maybe it's my personality. It might not sound like I'm an introvert, but I am an introvert. I'm only, I only look nice and bubbly now because Muhammad Ali is such a wonderful podcaster.
Oh, thanks.
In reality, I just like being home, hermit myself away. So it kind of really, it does really suit my personality. On a bigger scale, writing helps me, and I think everyone, process what's happening. Express yourself if it's creative writing. It gives you time to think. Like also if you struggle to be spontaneous, then you can write. It gives you time to think. And also writing is your foot in the door for a lot of things. I'm a participant of many kind of projects, like exchange programs, and also some other types of projects that I did because I wrote successful applications. So what else?
Would you say it's a way to understand yourself?
Absolutely.
Because I see a lot of people going through something like depression, they just sit down and write. They do something called journaling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes our thoughts are just all over the place in our head, but when you put them on paper, and you can kind of declutter stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, organize them.
And find out what you think. You write to find out what you think. Yeah.
Yeah, that may be part of the reason why people are still drawn to writing, despite the fact that there are already different types of media, like videos and audio. But we still write.
Yeah. And people will write. And it might sound counterintuitive because people typically, I often hear like, oh, I hate writing. But when I started teaching a lot of writing and doing creative writing projects, I actually realized there are so many people who love writing out there. So yeah, there are people who love writing. Yeah. And
probably our audience, when we tell them writing, they think of someone writing on paper with a pen, right? But it's old-fashioned image. But modern typists, modern writers are all typists.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we all write on our laptops, on our phones.
Yeah.
Right. And how does writing by hand compare to typing on your laptop? Or do you think they're both, two versions of the same thing?
Not sure. I don't write by hand really. I take notes by hand, but I don't think I could write a long text by hand. But besides, I write on different devices. To me, it's just magic that you start writing on one device and then you join on another device and you continue that same piece of writing.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And you don't ever have to worry about losing that.
Yeah.
Because it's up in the cloud.
Yeah.
Up on cloud. So you can access it from any part of the world.
And you can copy and paste. Like what I do sometimes. I copy and then I keep the original and I edit the second thing. So I have both the original and the edited thing.
Oh, yeah.
Can't do that on paper. It's too much trouble to do that on paper.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So you believe one day it's possible that all forms of handwriting will become a thing of the past?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. It might. It's a bit...
Because I honestly can't remember when was the last time I wrote something by hand. I can't. I don't have a single notebook. I don't have pens I carry with me. But I remember growing up, my dad used to carry a pen in his pocket.
Yeah.
Right, everywhere he went. And I was like, is that something people do out of necessity, or is it just for show? Yeah.
That's a good question. I think it will. Yeah, maybe I see it just happening for some notes, a note you need to take quickly. Yeah. Right,
but for extended writing, it's preferably done on computer or some device. Right, and can we talk in more detail about task 1 and task 2 IELTS writing.
Sure.
Right? Because the bulk of our subscribers here are tuning in, watching this because they want to get some tips on task 1 and task 2. So let's start off with task 1, right? And what are some tips you have for task 1?
Understand the data and analyze the data, what is happening. And I guess that's it, because I see a lot of people struggling with this, with understanding. And also, like, who gave you this data? Why do they need it? Which I understand is an imaginary question. But you have to imagine as if someone gave it to you in real life.
Yeah.
And then that's it, basically describe it to someone who needs it. Like, imagine they really, really need it.
Yeah. I see overlap in our approach to teaching task 1. Something I delivered that same message in my first class right off the bat. I say, pretend you are writing a report for your boss, right? And you should ask yourself what they would be most interested in.
Right.
Right. I give them this supermarket analogy sometimes too. So you go to a store and you want to buy chocolate, but you don't know what to buy. So you turn to the sales assistants standing there and ask them what to pick. And how do you feel if the store assistant tells you 11% of our customers like that, and 13% of customers like chocolate Bounty, and 20% like chocolate Millennium, and 60% like chocolate Snickers?
Right.
You wouldn't probably like that much information. You'd rather have them tell you the most popular option here is this, and the least popular is that. So stay away from that. Go for this one.
Yeah. Or the price. Like, this is the shelf with the most expensive chocolates. This is the shelf with the least expensive chocolates. Yeah.
Yeah. This sort of cataloging, this sort of categorizing is the whole purpose of writing that report.
Exactly. Plus, I also tell my students, imagine they have to make a decision based on your data. So it's not just for fun. It's like a purchasing decision in this case.
Right. Sometimes the graph is about crime rate in 5 different cities. I tell them to pretend that you want to move to one of these cities.
Yes.
So you know which ones to avoid and which ones you're safer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, great analogy. Yeah.
And can we talk about the writing criteria itself, which is a bit of a mystery for a lot of students out there, including myself? I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on task achievement? Because every time I, ask for my score breakdown, I have the lowest in my task achievement. So I wonder what I'm missing.
It's a good question, and it'll be different for different tasks, right? And I have a feeling also that. The easiest thing to identify is when some data is just wrong. For example, I was sitting in on Alisher's class today, and he was teaching writing, and when something like Indonesia was something, I don't remember, the lowest, and people wrote career was the lowest. Okay, then this is obviously wrong. Some other things, maybe you forget to point out that something is the largest, something is the smallest, or something changed, or something didn't change. Maybe you forget to point out some small details. Because that would qualify fully answer the question, or not fully. Not fully means something like, I need something else, tell me something else.
And how do you spot what's important and what's not important? How can you differentiate that?
That's a very good question. And I think sometimes it's a matter of opinion for examiners also.
Oh, so you do admit that it's subjective.
To some extent.
Assessment.
To some extent, yes, but not to the extent that entirely subjective. It's subjective because it's done by humans.
Right.
And sometimes I might feel like, oh, no, I don't have a single question. But another person will think, well, wait, but what about that country? But I think it's rare that it will be. But maybe because we don't really talk to those people who assess. We can't argue with them. I think we could successfully argue with them in terms of like what's important, what's not important.
Right. But for the most part, carrot is carrot for everyone.
Yes.
Apple is apple for everyone. No one would call apple an orange, right? So,
unless it's creative writing, right? But carrots are not the same carrots. You know, in because I travel a lot in some countries, I saw purple carrots. A carrot is not a carrot. To me, a carrot is orange. It's not purple. Not even yellow. I've seen yellow carrots. Okay, a couple of times I've seen yellow carrots. Still, a carrot is not a carrot.
But at least we both use the same word to
some extent. Yes.
To describe it.
Yes. But not 100%. You see.
How about coherence and cohesion? So, can you explain to students, give some examples of what good cohesion is and what's bad cohesion, and same for coherence?
Coherence is logic, and logic is invisible. There is no certain word that shows me the logic, but the logic is something I can spot still. For example, you go from the largest to the smallest. That's logical. You don't just chaotically give me whatever figures you want. And then cohesion is easier because there are certain words. I see the words. What's difficult, I guess, is this invisible cohesion that does not attract attention. And what is that? Basically, to me, it's variety. Like if it's every time, if it's a new linker, and by linker, I don't mean like however or furthermore. Okay, one time you use this, another time you use a pronoun, yet another time you use something else. So basically, try to use a different thing every time.
You made an interesting point. Invisible cohesion, is that right?
Yeah.
So what's that? I'm really curious to know what invisible coherence is.
Okay, maybe
cohesion, right?
Cohesion, right. Maybe I'll say it's invisible to the to the professional ear. Eye, it's still visible. You still notice it. Yeah, because you can still, a professional will still identify. Okay, this is a pronoun for reference. This is this. This is that. Yeah, but it does not attract attention. Meaning, it's not the same every time in every sentence.
Is it like when I'm able to go from start of your report to the end of your report without ever having to reread?
Yeah.
So it's like
that's stumbling.
Smooth.
Like what are you talking about? The word this. What does it mean? This what?
And how can an average student reach that level where they can tell with authority what's smooth and what's not smooth, what sticks out and what's well put? Oh,
that's a good question, right? Because sometimes even to me, people tell me, look, nothing sticks out to me. It's a good answer. But no, it's if you are a professional, like a professional teacher, you can be aware of different techniques, like what exactly is happening here. Like this is substitution or this is something else. As a student, I guess you can, if you read a lot and you just notice, like texts in this magazine tend to have a lot of, tend to use this a lot or something like that. Yeah.
And I guess we can attribute it to this. I'm no scientist here, but I have this theory that the more you're exposed to language, the sooner you develop language pattern. Exactly. You start recognizing patterns.
Exactly.
Like this is how they normally say that, and this is when they say it.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to say this. I'm not supposed to say that.
Yes.
It's not something you can just readily memorize from a textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exposure.
It happens almost unconsciously, right?
Exactly.
I can't honestly pinpoint a time in the past when I made that switch. It happened gradually and seamlessly.
Yeah.
But the only thing I did though, I was consistent.
Yeah.
About the exposure I had to language, and just eventually it worked out.
Exactly, and consistency is king. That's the way to achieve. Sometimes students tell me and they use, for example, this cohesive technique, do so. And some people use it, and then they have no idea what they are doing. And I tell, okay, this is a good thing. And then I teach it, and they tell me, wow, that's a do so, that's substitution. But I had no idea what I was doing. They can still use something good without knowing consciously what it is.
Right. And that's probably what I think of myself, I honestly don't have the words for what I'm writing. Like, I mean, the technical work, like the word substitution. I don't ever remember using that in the class because I simply don't have the qualification to teach. I'm not a teacher by major. I'm an economist, but it just feels the right thing to do or to say.
Yeah. And basically, that's the way native speakers learn the language, and there is nothing wrong with it. I mean, I think we can, you don't have to know the names. Okay, this is substitution, this is clausal substitution, this is adjectival substitution.
I actually know like 80-90% of the terms, linguistic terms, but every time I bring them up in the class, students are all confused. Like, what's that? Like when I tell them this is coordinating conjunction and that's subordinating, and I'm like, they don't get it.
Students like, I don't care. Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. What I tell them instead is they are connectors. One for a complex sentence connector and the other one is a compound sentence connector. And then they go like, what's complex and what's compound?
Yes.
Don't they mean the same thing?
Exactly. And they kind of do, because who cares if it's coordinating or subordinating? It's just a matter of terminology.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How about vocabulary? How do you say students can boost their vocabulary? Is it just, again, memorizing? Is it the same drill?
Memorization, and then using intentionally, because, I even do that sometimes to this day. Like, you put the word in front of you and you kind of decide, I will use the word provided it's the right, it can, for example, if it's writing task 1, provided it's the word that can really be used in writing task 1, or more like a collocation rather than a word. Like, I hear something on the podcast, I take a note. Oh, that's a good one, and I like intentionally put it in front of you. I will use it in this answer. It's simple as that.
Right. How about grammar? Boosting grammatical range. You would probably have to anyway hit the grammar books, I guess. Like, understand differences between compound complex sentences, different sentence types, defining relative clause versus non-defining relative clause. Oh, yeah. Which is a real pain in the neck, even sometimes for me.
It is. Yeah. But, sometimes it again, you have to make your choices, pick your choices in terms of maybe today the difference between defining non-defining is just this battle is not worth fighting. Grammar is a bit more difficult in that you need to study the structures. Regular verbs, you need to learn them. Nothing else you can do. But also it helps to memorize sentences or sentence parts. Because a lot of grammar is like patterns rather than like, okay, this is a subordinating conjunction.
Can I ask you something real quick? That's actually a question just occurred to me. When you write essays, do you have a number in mind in terms of how many grammatical structures you use, or does it come out just natural?
No, I just let it come out naturally.
Natural. You do that, right? Yeah. Because not long ago, I used to be like, I have to have one complex, one compound, one simple, and one inversion, and one complex non-defining relative clause, and one complex defining relative clause. So I could like tick all the boxes. That was me. But later on, did I realize that it was so restrictive?
Yeah.
I was so restricted in my ability to express myself. So I ditched that approach. Now I'm more like, okay, I don't care if I'm writing all simple sentences. I just want to write what's on my mind. Yeah. And only then my writing started getting better.
Exactly. It just restricts you. You can try it. Like if you are thinking about the clauses that you need to include. Yeah.
Because this is more grammar-centered writing, I guess. And sometimes you have the idea, and you want to write one complex sentence, but that idea is best described in a simple sentence, or two simple sentences. They don't quite. Yeah, even though it's possible to write them, to merge them into one complex sentence, it may not be in your reader's best interest.
Exactly, it will not be readable, so you lose clarity. Yeah.
These are some nuances that, like, a lot of people wanting to get, if you're someone wanting to go from like 8 to 9 in task 2, I guess, or task 1 for that matter, you might want to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Clarity is, I mean, we need it. We need clarity anyway. Yeah.
And how about your approach in task 2? How do you go about your task 2 writing? Would you say task 2 is a lot easier than task 1?
Oh, it's hard to say because some people say like, I don't have ideas. And then it's difficult for people to have ideas. In writing task 1, you don't need ideas. But some people, ideas are not a problem. Then to them, task 2 is easier. It's hard to, I think it's very personal.
But how about you? What is it like in your case?
I like essays. I like essays but I honestly find them, not all topics, but many topics, like I find them interesting. Like, let's find out, is a prison sentence better or a community work better? Let's think about it. Like, really, let's think about it.
And do you make up your mind before you write it, or you make it up along the way?
Before, but very quickly. I do not write a plan, but I choose quickly, and then I stick to it.
Right. So you always have a plan before you start writing.
In my mind,
you do.
Yeah.
And it's some pragmatic thing to do if you don't want to run out of time.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't have time to change. Yeah. To change horses midstream. Suddenly you disagree. No. If you agree, then you agree.
You do that. Because sometimes it's hard for an average student to make up their mind right away in a split second.
Right.
Yeah.
What I tell my students, like, I agree, and then you just stick to it because, like. You shouldn't really care. I mean, it's not like it's your personal opinion for real.
Right.
You just need to argue an opinion, pretend it's yours. No one will check. So you really shouldn't worry too much about that.
Right. And whether you agree or disagree, as long as you can sell it, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to sell it.
Exactly. And like sometimes I'm convinced, and I get sometimes very surprising essays. Like I'm thinking, really? You think that? And people say no. But I'm convinced.
Yeah. Right. So, and that's the whole point of, I guess, writing, right? Trying to convince other people of your opinion, of your belief, what you think.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as a wrong opinion. Because it is an opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah. It comes with a big disclaimer that it might be wrong.
And IELTS essays are actually written, designed in a way that both opinions make sense. Agreeing makes sense, disagreeing makes sense. Because if only one opinion made sense, there would be no reason to write the essay.
Right. But I gotta say though, sometimes I get essays where you have to say I agree. You have to say I disagree, because simply it's hard to
find
talk
reasons.
about the other side.
Yes, it can happen. Yes, it can happen.
Yeah. And would you say those essays are hard to write or easy? Hard to write about?
I don't know. Yeah. I find, writing the predictable opinion boring. But that's just me because I've written so many essays already. So I would often try to write the unpopular, unusual opinion.
A quick question. How many essays have you written your entire career? Because I want to check it against the number I got on our channel. If I right now type in at Muhammad Ali issues, it shows how many posts I made over the past 3 years, I guess.
I'm sure you win because...
No, it's no competition. It's just out of curiosity.
I don't know. I think it could be like 100 maybe. I don't know.
100. Okay, so let's see mine. Because I'm writing a new essay every writing class. Like you said, I like to keep things spicy, right? I hate writing an essay on the same topic twice. Same with graph. I don't care how challenging it is, but because I want my students to get first-hand experience of how I go about, writing. I say, okay, so what I'm writing here, how I'm reacting is how I react when I'm in the exam. Yeah.
And this is also extremely inspiring because I know like Mohammed Ali and Alisher both write with their students in the writing class.
Yeah.
And this is inspiring also, and this is awesome. I rarely write in class with my students. I write beforehand.
Oh.
I'm a bit like, kind of, I want to come prepared. And so that's really like my next challenge, like so that I write at the same time and students see my unedited, my flawed version probably. So how many essays is that?
354.
354.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, someone compiled them all into a textbook, and it's now out. That brings me to my next question. It's actually a special question from Alisher. He's curious to know whether one day you want to write your own textbook.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would love to. I think I have I have a lot of materials. I create a lot of materials for my students, a lot of exercises. Yeah, I think it would be a cool book in terms of not like theory, but real exercises you can do. Because as you know, there is no good writing textbook for IELTS. You just pick things here and there.
Oh yeah. We do use multiple textbooks. I never thought about this. That's right. There's not one textbook we stick to. Because there's always something missing.
Exactly. Something is missing all the time. Exactly. Yeah.
But if you ever write a textbook, yours would be our staple part of the curriculum, staple textbook. The entire school here would use it, right, guys? Please let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a textbook by Miss Irina one day.
Right. I need to give it some thought because I like creating exercise. I have fun with exercises, and because I teach. Like I sometimes teach the same essay. I use the same essay in different classes. My essay, I mean, and then I can make different exercises because I'm bored with the previous exercise. I make activities.
And do you come up with those exercise questions yourself, or are you now using ChatGPT? Because no. I heard it's possible to use ChatGPT to make exercise questions. I mean.
Oh, myself.
How do you feel about ChatGPT? Using ChatGPT to enhance writing skills? Do you personally use ChatGPT?
Very rarely. Very rarely. I think just like everything, ChatGPT takes a lot of focus. Like if you really take what you get and you analyze it very, very carefully, it's a very useful tool. But if you just say you get an answer by ChatGPT and you read it and you think, okay, cool, and then what? Then nothing happens. On even assessments by ChatGPT, like you get, I don't know, that this is a Band 7 essay. You can only hope that this is true, like without confirmation from someone who's a professional. But on the whole, I mean, it's collocations, right? You can highlight them, you can memorize them, but it's your work. Ideas, you can highlight them. Use them to write your own essay again, but it's your work, so you have to put in your work anyway.
Did you ever have ChatGPT check your essay?
I did. I did.
So how do you feel about the response? Because I'm personally checking my work every time on ChatGPT, and I trust ChatGPT's judgment. Like, I mean, checking. It revises my points. Although I admit sometimes there are some mistakes. It simply points out a problem when it's not a problem, right? If you were to check that on Grammarly would say it's fine. But ChatGPT says that's a problem. Yeah. For the most part, though, ChatGPT does a great job of checking your essay in terms of grammar, word use, and clarity of your work. Right?
Yeah.
Or you still have mixed feelings about it?
I have mixed feelings for higher scores. Again, because I teach higher levels. Yes, I have mixed feelings when it comes to 8, 9. Then I have doubts. Yeah.
Yeah, now I see where Alisher gets that skepticism, because he's a huge opponent of ChatGPT and I'm a huge proponent, so we're always like fighting. Right,
but again, like you have to use it consciously and mindfully. Then it's a useful tool. Yeah,
it is because I see it being very helpful to 90% of the language learners out there. Right? Because if you notice today in the class, it was a speaking class, but we have pretty much the same assessment approach in our writing class. I have students look up answers on ChatGPT, or they write their answers and proofread it on ChatGPT, right? And what's great about ChatGPT is like a personal tutor who can revise your work, and you can literally customize it. So if it's too long, shorten it. If it's too advanced, simplify it. If it's too boring, spice it up.
Yeah.
And it will. Or if you want some joke, you get a joke in your answer.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it streamlines the whole process.
Right.
Or you think there are any downsides to that approach?
No, I mean, for example, like in the past, you would be waiting for teachers' feedback.
Exactly.
But now you have it immediately.
Yeah, because if I were to comment on their part 2 as well, it would take me twice as much time.
Yeah.
I only commented on their part 3, if you noticed in the class.
Yeah, and it could be, and then, but again, it's the student's work. For example, the student asks the ChatGPT to make it more advanced. Then again, the student has to highlight and memorize the advanced items. But yeah, it's awesome. Absolutely, absolutely.
And I feel like this is where the teacher comes in. So if I have ever noticed, or if our teachers ever notice students are learning something way above their head, like way over their level, and say, okay, you need to simplify. This is not your level. This is obviously slowing you down, taking you so much time to memorize.
Yeah.
And so I feel like what I'm trying to say here is we can make the most of ChatGPT as long as there is some, teacher supervision.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as supervised by a teacher.
Right. But still, a lot of work that you would be doing otherwise, you don't need to be doing anymore, and you only do the unique, the high quality work. Yeah.
That's all my thinking here. So why comment on students' grammar when ChatGPT can do that?
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Why correct students' grammar in their essay when ChatGPT can do that? I could instead pick another topic and talk about it. Right.
Or talk about a unique problem that the student has, because ChatGPT doesn't know your student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another question I have in terms of writing is, you've taught a lot of students, helped a lot of students, guided a lot of students to improve their writing, and you've read their essays. So in your objective thinking, in your objective mind, what's the most impressive work you've ever read? And who it was written by, and can you give us the breakdown of that work? It doesn't necessarily have to be a task 2 essay or task 1 report. So something that just
writing?
Yeah, something blew you away.
Oh, well, I have my creative writing club. And some participants, I've been doing it for 7 years, I think, maybe 8. They've been joining. At some point, they became so good at writing, much better than me, much better than I could have imagined. And we wrote stories, like 3,000 words, and we compiled a collection, and we read them, and we had a book club based on those stories. And these stories, to me, they're just mind-blowing, because they have everything. They have the idea, they make you think, but also they have the stylistic devices. They are written so well, in impeccable English. And to me, still, my mind is blown by them.
And what are those stories about?
Everybody was writing their own story. So everybody was writing what they were processing.
So what's one story that struck you the most?
I want to say my story. It's a bit... I wrote a story that I liked, which I also want to kind of celebrate, because to me it's unusual that I'm happy with it. Really, I'm happy with it. I think it's complete. It's like a full circle. You don't need anything else in it. And it sparked a lot of debates. It sparked such a huge discussion in the book club, which I absolutely love. I love it when something sparks debates. But all these stories, and one of my participants wrote a novel, like a real novel, 30,000 words.
Wow.
it's like it's so completely mind blowing, because I saw these people grow, and this is what they came to years later. And it was completely insane.
And where do you publish those stories? If people watching this podcast right now want to go and check them out, where do you want them to go?
I don't publish them.
Oh, well, that's a pity.
You have to join my book club. Join my book club. We'll have it in summer. Maybe I should, but I'm not sure.
You should consider doing that. Like, because to me, what I'm thinking is, what's the point of writing those stories if there's no one to read them? Or if only like a small
number,
group
community,
of people reading them. I understand that there's this community thing you're trying to maintain, you're trying to keep, but
there is this terrifying thought that you give someone your piece of writing, and what if they don't like it?
I mean,
it's like, but it's it's something I wrote, something here in my deep inside my soul. It's not an IELTS essay, it's a story I love. What if they don't like it? Oh, that's terrifying.
But I think this is what it's like. It's like finding a gold mine, tapping into a gold mine, and digging all the gold and keeping them in your house your entire life, and then burying them in the ground right before you die, and no one ever
not
can
showing.
Find them.
Right.
That's how it feels. Right. And that's the reason why I post my essays. I write essay in the class. It's out there on the channel. I want people to see them, because in fact, even one time I compiled all my Word files into an archive file and put it on the channel. And you know why I did that? Because I thought that day I was gonna die. It sounds weird, but that day I thought I was gonna hit by a car. I said, what if by some accident tomorrow I can't show up to work? I don't want them on my laptop. I want them out there, because I know, like, maybe 200-300 years later, someone's gonna look back and study the origins of English language development in Uzbekistan. All right, decided to do their research, and they come across my essays.
Right.
How nice would that be?
That's a cool thought. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, thank you.
Yeah, you should take that. That's my thinking. Like, what if I die today and all of it is on my laptop and never sees the light of the day? What's the point of that? So, because I genuinely believe that knowledge, and this knowledge you're generating through your writing, is for sharing. Because if it's not for sharing, then what is it for? It's like a divine gift that's being given to you from a whole different universe or dimension, and you're keeping it all to yourself. That, in some sense, seems a little egotistical. Yeah, it does.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. No, thank you. Because, like I said, it's just like, but what if? I don't know. Yeah.
Because it's like producing a movie. There are always haters. There are always critics, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's really important that you enjoy it, that you like it. It's like art, and so when you're at a gallery and people see your work, some people like it, some people don't.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with people not liking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because sometimes I get comments on the channel say, I write 300 words for task 1, and people say, well, this is not task 1, this is task 2. And I might get that. For one, they don't understand there's no upper word limit, and they don't get that. So I don't really get frustrated. And 2 is, that's just my way of expressing. Yeah, it's
right.
So you take it or leave it. If you don't like
it, I wrote what I wrote. Yeah,
exactly.
This is me. Yeah.
So I'm guessing after this talk, after this conversation, Ms. Irina will open up and let us in on her beautiful stories, which I'm personally dying to read. I don't know you guys though.
Right.
I hope I finally managed to convince her to put them out there.
Right. Thank you.
And I had another question on ChatGPT. Do you think it's possible that one day writing skills will disappear? Because now you can produce an impressive piece of writing with few clicks, like with few typing on your computer. Tell ChatGPT to write a bad 9 essay, it's ready. In 3 seconds, voila. So do you think it's possible that one day universities will no longer ask students to write a personal statement, or no longer ask them to write stories, because they think students can just do that on ChatGPT?
Right, and that's an interesting question, because what will universities do? Like they need to be responding to that, right? But yeah, I don't think will ChatGPT. I don't think ChatGPT will replace writing in which there is a personal component, because ChatGPT doesn't know you. What if they write a personal essay for you that's generic, that's not you?
Oh yeah.
And then people who need to make the decision, but they don't see you, and you're much better than this essay. But ChatGPT cannot possibly know you. How will they write a good essay about you?
Or say write a task 2 essay, right? Something I noticed is when you ask ChatGPT to write a task 2 essay, it gives you a band 10 essay. This is like off the charts, so good. And then there's my essay, and there's some flaws there. It's not quite band 9, but for some reason, people gravitate towards that essay, even when there's a better option. It's like photography versus painting. Like,
right.
It's so no matter how advanced technology gets, people still
the human touch, the human component. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm worried that ChatGPT might literally take over, because sometimes you read its stories or its essay, it's shockingly good. It's shockingly there is intrigue, there is element of humor, and there's plot twists, like whatever you ask for, it'll do it. It's getting that good. Or you think maybe we're not, I don't know, smart enough to understand the scale of it? Because every time I watch tech guys talk about AI and its possibilities, they are so worried about the future of humanity and everything we have. All our skills are at stake.
Right, and that's also a good question to discuss. And it's also a good question to ask someone. Let's say you get a story or a novel, and it says written by ChatGPT. Like, do you want to read it? Or would you rather go like written by Muhammad Ali? Like, I'm not sure I would choose a novel, however perfect, by ChatGPT. Like if it says, or I was talking to a friend about this. Let's say you read I don't know, description of whatever, your school, like, and the description says written by ChatGPT. Like, I have doubts about this school if they didn't even bother to write. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But it's a good question.
That makes sense. I just realized that's the reason why we still write caption for our students' results. Every time our students' results come out, we make their teachers write something about their student, when in fact we could just generate that all on ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah. Because we want that genuine comment from the teacher, even when we could just simply have ChatGPT write those caption lines. You guys, I'm talking about those score posts, guys. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, so they come with comments by the teacher, right? And some people think that they're just ChatGPT generated, but no, they're all authentic. They're all written by their teachers, those students' teachers. Yeah, it's I don't know how to put it. It's very frightening, at the same time exciting what the future holds.
I'm leaning towards frightening.
Why is that?
Because it looks like people will be redundant. What will people be doing? Machines can do everything, and arguably better. And they might be, actually. Even ChatGPT will be getting better and better. What will people be doing?
Yeah. It's very scary. All right. So enough of writing and ChatGPT. What do you say we talk about other components of IELTS? And for the record, Miss Irina nailed Band 9 twice in the exam. Twice.
Twice.
And I hope it's soon to be 3-4 times. Yeah. I mean, who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah, right. So would you like to share some tips for other modules of IELTS as well, like listening and reading and then speaking?
Oh, I don't know. I think listening is just it's not the same as reading. it's so much simpler. And also, it's not the same. I was doing reading and listening like the other day, and I was thinking, in reading, they have actually interesting texts. Like some scientists removed some dog's pancreas, and I was like, oh my God, what did they do? But in listening, it's like you're writing down somebody's phone number. You don't care.
Yeah.
You don't know the person.
Yeah.
That's why, like, to me, this is just...
But wait until you get to section 4. Wait until you get to section 4.
Okay, history of music. Right, but still, yeah. But it's just one section. But in reading, all 3 texts are interesting.
So what do you recommend to those students who are trying to go from, say, 6.5 to band 9 in reading and listening?
Answer the questions that you have, and then analyze what went wrong, why you answered wrong. Match like what you see in the text and what you see, and then that's it. And then of course vocabulary, because a lot of the texts are based on paraphrasing, or the questions are based on paraphrasing, and do that religiously.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell students too. Reading is like 70-80% vocabulary test.
Yeah,
it's like a puzzle. You know the words, you can solve the puzzle. You don't know the words, it's an
absolutely
story.
You don't understand paraphrasing if you don't know the word. Yeah.
And a quick question, like when you do a reading practice test, do you normally start with the passage or the questions? Which one do you first look at?
Okay, I don't do practice tests. I have a confession to make. I don't do reading and listening ever.
Oh, you don't?
Only in exams.
But you said the other day you were reading
in the exam.
I see.
Yeah, and I was reading interesting texts about Bovids and Rome and things like that. But I read the text first.
You do, and the entire text.
Yeah.
Entire passage.
Yeah.
What did I tell you guys? Because this is what I exactly do. I read the entire text in like 5 minutes. And then answer the questions. How much time does it take you to complete the entire reading test?
Like 50 minutes maybe.
50?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. With me, it takes like 35, 40.
The entire test?
Yeah, the entire test. It's just because I figured that when I'm focused and I read the entire text in one go, not, look at the questions, I can just really focus and process, analyze, and then go and answer the questions.
Right, and then you don't need to go back to the text.
Sometimes,
but
just for confirmation.
Yeah, exactly. If you read like carefully, you don't need to reread. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not something I would recommend to 6.5, 7 level students, because simply a lot of things, a lot of information to process and retain. Yeah, you're better off kind of splitting it into digestible chunks, right? And doing them one at a time, maybe like 2 paragraphs at a time, 2 paragraphs and the questions. But the reason I personally do is because of, number one, my genuine interest. I am also a reading enthusiast, right? All those ideas I got in my essays, I get them from reading passages.
Yeah.
I don't do ever extra reading, but people think that I read a lot of books, that I'm kind of a bookworm, but you have no idea how much useful information you can get from those passages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And as for listening, so what do you recommend to those students wanting to go from 6.5 to 9 to improve? How did you personally level up your listening skills?
I didn't level it up because I already got very high scores the first time.
Oh, you did?
But because of my background, I understand everything they say. It was just easy.
Yeah.
But I would recommend doing the same. And I have some people have problems listening to something or doing something again. Generally, like I would recommend rewinding and listening to small chunks. Of those pieces that you got wrong, and analyzing, like, why did I get it wrong? What do they say here? If necessary, check with the script. But then if you check with the script, then it's reading rather than listening.
I wonder you ever teach reading and listening?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I used to, but not anymore.
Why did you quit teaching reading and listening? Because it got boring?
People don't need it. Like I think people don't need it. I sometimes can give kind of advice, but I don't generally do that. No.
And even that advice can be given within 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need like a 3-4 months long program.
You don't. You
know?
don't. Yeah.
In fact, recently I had an online program, and it was a crash course, 4-day crash course, and everyone was like, "What can you teach in 4 days?" And I'm like, "Everything IELTS, everything there is to know about IELTS. I can do it in 4 days," and they couldn't believe. And I did that. And at the end of the course, and everyone went like, "Wow, I this is something." That they were honestly mind blown because of how information packed the course was, and I could really convince them that it's something they could like manage to develop in a short amount of time, if assuming their level is like 6.5, they've not like beginner level. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the online courses out there, they get dragged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For reading and listening, yes.
Yeah, I don't see why, honestly. Yeah, it's and students don't seem to mind it because they just want a supervisor. They just want someone to.
Some people need a slower pace.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you're really focused, yeah, child's play.
And how about speaking? What are some suggestions you have for, language learners out there trying to step up their speaking game?
I think it's important to sound natural in speaking. And how can you achieve that? Only by speaking. Because even vocabulary or grammar, you have to use it naturally. You have to use it skillfully. So only by speaking. And I think a lot of things, like they are achieved through, I think the best lexical items that I acquired, they were acquired through natural interactions. That's why I think what you do, like you never speak any other languages but English, that's very useful. Because I think if you come up with a lexical item in a real situation, because something happened, it will be more memorable. People will memorize it and then use it, and it will sound natural.
Rather than being made to learn from a textbook, right?
Yes, because somebody told you that this is a good thing. Yeah.
But I gotta admit, we do it sometimes, not sometimes, a lot here, because I know our students are watching it right now, and they're gonna trash me in the class if I tell them we never do that. Because we do. There's a textbook called Rachel Mitchell, and we get them to memorize some useful expressions and phrases from that textbook.
But also advice differs for different levels. At certain levels, absolutely memorization, so that you're your mouth puts the right words together. Yeah, that's also important.
Yeah, I honestly see it as a necessary evil. Like, this is not fun. It's not the most interesting thing. It's not really exciting, but you have to do it. You just like you had to memorize multiplication table in the 2nd grade.
Absolutely.
As the your start of your mathematics journey.
Yeah.
Your earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all my thinking. So if you had a band 7 level student, how would you help them go from 7 to 9? If you were to come up with a structured program, and I know it's a hard question to answer because it takes a lot of planning and.
I wouldn't. Because it depends on the student. Because sometimes I have, like, if you know that this is a professional teacher whose level is C2, and maybe they got 999, 7, 9, then that's a whole different story. But if it's a general 7, more or less, then I just wouldn't take that student, because. Maybe it's my defeatist attitude, but I would think it would take so much work, it would take years, and the student will give up. The student, and it just takes a lot of language that's not necessarily related, like just reading articles, not very IELTS-y things. So no, from 7 to 9, I wouldn't take this one unless, like I said, 9, 9, 7, 9. Unless it's that situation.
Okay. Would you be willing to help someone get a perfect 9 in writing if they have 9, 9, 9, 8? And I'm guessing you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, and that's that's an interesting journey. Yeah. And this is a very personal journey also, because it's a lot of personal work going on. Like, what exactly is the student's problem? Because you take 5 students like that, and it'll be 5 different problems. And also a lot of meticulous work. Like articles, for example. Even articles can be like a problem at this level. That's the interesting journey. Yeah, that's interesting to teach.
And at the same time, I wonder if I really need that band 9 in writing. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth chasing? Do you think you'll ever get a band 9 in writing?
No.
What's funny is I talked to a guy who got band 9 in writing the other day.
Right.
I did.
What did he say? I don't know.
I mean, he said it was just like other experiences he had, test experience, nothing special. He did, though, emphasize topic familiarity. So he said a few days before his exam, he wrote an essay on that exact topic with his students in the class, and that helped him a lot.
Right. He had the arguments. Yeah.
I guess I can also pull off a 9 in writing. It's just I need to get my task 1 together because I'm so dismissive of my task 1, and that's something he did mention. That he said a lot of high-level candidates don't take task 1 seriously, but they should. I think that's my problem, because a few times I got 8.5 in writing. I asked for my score breakdown. I got 9s in task 2, but 7 in task 1.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially, task 1, especially task achievement, probably. Yeah. Is 9 worth pursuing? That's an interesting question. I think it is, but not to the detriment of other. Like, let's say if you wanted it so badly, you decided I will give up on the podcast. Then it's like, no, it's not worth pursuing.
No.
But if it's like, I have some free time, I have nothing to do, let me do a writing task 1. Yeah, then absolutely.
Yeah. Because I know there's a secret race going on right now in Uzbekistan that gets quadruple 9s, a perfect 9. For that, someone's going to get a 9 in writing, right?
Right.
I'm not sure if you know, but IELTS is a big industry here. It is.
I know a little bit. Yeah.
It's as big as the car industry.
Nice.
And so before band 9, there was a secret race to 9. Not a secret, open race to 9. Like, who gets overall 9, right? Yeah. And then after a couple of people got band 9, everyone else started getting band 9. Yeah. So and it went super viral. Everyone was talking about it on social media, right? And then once all the dust settled, now next race is who's gonna get the perfect 9.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it's happening. It might happen very soon though, because the guy I talked to, he got 3 9s and 7.5 speaking, but I think his speaking is so underrated. If you go and watch that podcast, it wasn't. I admit, one of my best podcasts, because I was kind of off that day, and I'm glad that brain fog is gone and I could barely speak. Yeah, I felt so out of place on that podcast. I could have done a lot better, but anyway. And his speaking was mind-blowing, confident, and had perfect pronunciation, and so eloquent, so well put. I mean, it just beats me how he got 7.5 in speaking.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's only a matter of time before someone... Yeah.
Right. And I think this competition is absolutely awesome. Because even if you don't get, for example, like you don't get the scores, you are still like, I personally, I'm inspired by people who are getting higher scores than me or doing something better than me. Because to me, it's like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. Let me try. Let me try harder.
Would you like to join the competition? Yeah. We'd be honored to have you in this little marathon.
Right. The invisible competition. Yeah.
All right. Band 9ers, watch out. She's coming after us.
Yeah. No, I think generally, I think the highest score is only natural to want to receive it. Yeah.
Okay. You did tell me that you took part in some exchange programs. So would you like to talk about them as well? What kind of exchange programs have you been part of?
All-American exchange programs, and they were different. One was an exchange program with the university. I was a student at the time. Another one was I was a teacher already, and I taught Russian at an American university. Russian is a foreign language. And then the last one was we went to the TESOL conference in Portland. I did not present at that time. I just looked around, and then I realized, okay, I want to try to present. And then I presented the next year.
So TESOL, you said, right? Would you like to talk a little more about this TESOL program? It's something I'm personally curious about. So what is TESOL? To those people out there who don't know what TESOL is.
Right, it's teaching English to speakers of other languages. I don't know the TESOL program. The TESOL conference is a different thing. So I know they do TESOL programs online, like you can get a TESOL certificate. I don't have any of that. It's just that speaking at the conference.
I see. Right. So but you don't have TESOL certificate yourself per se?
No.
You don't? Oh, I see. Because I'm being told by a lot of pro teachers that if I wanna be considered taking seriously as a teacher, then I have to get one. TESOL. I did a TESOL program online. It's nice to get your qualifications right, TESOL, but I'm not really sure if it's worth it because the price is $2,000, and that money is better spent on something else for sure. I'd rather sit IELTS test 10 times than take TESOL program.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, it's about priorities.
Right.
I don't know if you need it.
Yeah.
Because I have a degree. At one point, I got it. Like I got a degree in English, so I just teaching English. So I thought, like, I don't need. I'm not. I don't want to do TESOL, CELTA, Delta. I don't want any of that anymore. Enough.
Right. And can we talk a little about social media as well?
Sure.
I see you're not that active on social media. You have your own channel on Telegram. So what kind of content you are planning to, say, create in the future? Are you going to be, say, restricted to, are you just going to stick to text content, or do you have any plans to make some video content?
Oh, that's a very difficult. People seem to like videos, but I am, I wouldn't go so far as to say averse to videos, but I don't think I will be. I don't see myself making video content.
But I bet after this podcast, a lot of people would want to hear more from you. Not just your messages, your posts, but video content.
Right.
Like writing tutorials or maybe just vlogs of you, because I know you like traveling, which is something I'd love to talk about later on. So.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's just not my medium. It's not my medium. I don't know. Thank you for doing this podcast, by the way, because I know that this is like I couldn't possibly do this myself on my own. But this is such a great thing.
But I think you should give it a thought. Because can I tell you something? If you ask my high school friends or uni friends that one day I would possibly be on camera talking, they would think you're crazy.
Right.
Yeah, this is something I never imagined I'd be doing, but here I am.
And
because I realized sometimes, I don't know how to put it. I realized I had to stop thinking so much about myself, because the thing about all those people who are shy and introverted, and no offense, but that's the truth, is that they care too much about themselves. They're too selfish. Because they think they're the center of the universe. And that's something I had to, and the thing that helped me to start this video content was to get over that idea that I was the center of the universe, that I have to be flawless, that I have to be perfect.
Right.
Because I know I made so far probably 1,000 mistakes, but guess what? I don't care.
Right. Yes, that's exactly part of the thought, like at the back of my mind. Right? But what if what if I don't look good? What if I don't have good lighting? What if something else?
Yeah. But I remind myself, here's what I tell myself. People watching this podcast probably, watching this, paying attention, learning a lot, and they're probably thinking about me right now when they're watching this. And the moment they switch off or the moment they move to the next video, I'm
right.
Yes, no, I'm not in their mind.
No one is going to think like, his hair didn't look good. No one cares. I know. Yeah.
Because there's so much information out there, so many videos, so many shorts, and we're just a video away from being forgotten. Just a video away from being forgotten.
That's a great way to put it. Just a video away from being forgotten. Right.
That's what I think. So probably right now I'm watching this short, and you're just one swipe away, swipe up.
Not even one video, one swipe. Yeah.
That's kind of my mental framework that helped me get over my social media fear, helped me get over my camera fear. So right now, I love cameras. Like, please show me where the cameras are. I want to talk. I want people to see me. I went from that kind of guy who's all stuck in his little shell, in his little world, to wanting to be in public, wanting to be seen. Now I can't stand if someone takes away the spotlight from me. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but if you go and watch my podcast with the band 9, the guy who got 9 writing, I wasn't exactly comfortable there because I don't like someone stealing the spotlight from me.
Yeah, right.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. It's all love, okay? There was no tension at all. I was just kind of off that day.
It's a good mindset. Yes. But I'm not there yet. Sometimes I record videos for conferences, like a promotional, presentational videos. It takes me like 3 hours to record the 5 minutes. I'm very self-conscious.
Right. And also, just remind yourself that, like, any moment, something else I tell myself is any moment I'm probably gonna be dead, and if you're someone who wants to be remembered long after you're gone, then you have to leave a piece of you out there.
Right.
That's something else I'm telling me.
Right.
So I don't want to be consigned to oblivion.
Right.
Because out of sight, out of mind. I'm sure you've heard that. So I want my site to be there. I want my face to be there on the internet for eternity.
Right.
Because the whole idea of being forgotten after you're dead is so scary. So scary. Yeah.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, think about all these great people we still talk about, even though they lived thousands of years ago. Centuries ago, like Alexander the Great, right? Or Genghis Khan. Even though they're infamous, they're known for doing bad things. There are a lot of other great people we know of because their work or works have been passed on to us.
Right. And this is how they're alive. Yeah.
And I doubt you know anything about some random potter lived in a small village who made beautiful pots.
Right.
But all those pots are gone, so no one knows about that.
And no one knew, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one knows about that potter who goes by the name of Jacob. No, I'm just kidding. It's a random potter.
Yeah. That's a good thought to think about. Yeah.
All I'm doing here is I'm trying to get Miss Irina to start making some video content, because I don't know you guys, but I'd love to see more of your stuff on the internet.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for the idea.
Yeah, sure. Can we talk a little about your travel experience? Because I know you've been to a lot of countries.
Right.
So how many countries have you been to in total?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but a lot. Yeah. Because Europe, you see, I live in St. Petersburg, and Europe is just within an arm's reach. You jump on the bus, not right now, but you jump on the bus, you are in Estonia or in Finland, and then you are everywhere in Europe.
Okay. And what's been your favorite country so far? Is it Uzbekistan?
One of the countries. Right? No, I mean no kidding, because I love ancient beauty. I would even specify not Uzbekistan, Samarkand and Bukhara. The ancient beauty, I just love it. Love it. So basically, I guess countries that have this ancient beauty, yeah.
So you don't like modern architecture? Not a fan of modern? Because I personally don't like old buildings. I'm not a big fan of. Maybe because of the fact that I grew up in a city where we are surrounded with old buildings, and I want to see something new, different. And you grew up in a country where everything is modern, and you want to
No, I think vice versa. Like I grew up in a small town. The Russian audience will know Pskov, and it's exactly the same size as Bukhara, and it's very old. Also, we have like the Kremlin. We have these walls. That's why I think I like Bukhara so much. Actually, it's like of course it's a different style, but it's the same vibe for me. Like a small town with a lot of ancient beauty. It's exactly where I feel comfortable. Places like New York, for example, I love New York also. But something is missing in New York for me.
And what's that?
The beauty. The beauty. Yeah, there is beauty also, but it's a different kind of beauty. Yeah. And also like natural beauty. Like the Grand Canyon. Oh my God. Yeah.
So what's been the most profound travel experience you've ever had? You had in the past, most profound.
In what way?
In a way that it shocked you to the point where you had to pause and you had to take it in for moments to process it, because it was so stunning, because it was so bizarre, because it was so out of this world.
You know, it's I've seen some impressive things, like Grand Canyon is one of them. The Grand Canyon. I recently traveled to Mexico and I saw Teotihuacan. Huge! Oh my God! Also impressive. But I think the most impressive things are interactions with people, unexpected interactions. And I also remember I cherished the moments when people were helping me out, when I was in trouble, and I cherished these moments. I remember one particular moment in Mexico, and they told me before I went to Mexico, they told me Mexico is such a dangerous country.
It is.
It is, but
I'm not sure if it's because of social media or everything we read or all the movies about Mexican cartel. But when you say Mexico, we think of drug lords.
Cartels, yes.
We think of machine guns. We think of kidnappers. We think of
kidnappers. Right.
Guys carrying machete.
Right, but I went to, like in Mexico's defense. I was traveling alone. Okay, huge mistake. I looked like a tourist, I had a huge camera. And I didn't find the place where to get on the bus. And, small towns in Mexico are not exactly well organized. So there was no bus stop. And I was panicking because I didn't know, like I was in the middle, there was no one. I got help. I didn't get kidnapped. Like if I was kidnapped, like no one would ever see me ever. But I mean, people helped me. They put me on the bus. I don't know. And I cherish these things, when you have a certain stereotype. But then it turns out that that's not true.
What's one stereotype you had coming here to Uzbekistan or to Bukhara?
Honestly, to be brutally honest, I was concerned about what to wear, what kind of clothes to wear. I don't really wear very revealing clothes anyway, but I didn't know like to what extent it's like the dress code is enforced. This was such a stereotype. I mean, I was never scolded or, I mean, nothing. I just wear my usual clothes. Yeah.
But when you got here and you saw a bunch of ladies wearing shorts or tight jeans or top tanks, you just realized it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. No one cares. No one says anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize, and I don't wear revealing clothes just because. Okay, but I don't, not like I want. I don't really want to, but I was just concerned about this. This was something on my mind. Like, what do I wear? But yeah,
we're not. We still have we still have that Western influence we got from Russia during the Soviet Union time. So our parents grew up wearing I guess not jeans, but formal clothes. They grew up wearing T-shirts and sometimes jeans. So we still have that. Unlike what most people think, we don't exactly wear traditional clothes unless it's some special occasion like a festival or holiday like Navruz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other times people are wearing formal clothes.
I mean, absolutely.
Shirts, T-shirts.
Nothing to worry about here. Nothing to even think about. Yeah.
So travelers wanting to come to Bukhara or Uzbekistan, for that matter, so no dress code. But of course, you're not going to come here wearing bikinis, right? That would be preposterous. Okay. All right. And what are some important lessons you learned during your years of traveling? So what are some 3 important lessons you learned from going to different parts of the world as a cosmopolitan, as a globetrotter?
Okay.
Someone.
People are fundamentally the same everywhere.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, we all want the same things. We all appreciate the same things. What does a person want? I mean, everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants, friends, family. I don't know. There are certain interactions that are inbuilt into people. Like it's inbuilt to be nice, to help. It's natural. Which brings me to my second point. The second point is people will help you if you ask. Sometimes even if you don't ask, you will always get help. And 3, I don't know. You discover things about yourself also. How you react, how you maybe panic in certain situations, how you deal, how you resolve a problem. Yeah.
So are you a good problem solver?
I hope.
I mean, you made it out alive from Mexico, so you're here sitting alive, so that makes you a good problem solver.
Right.
You're still here in one piece, so
yeah, Mexico.
You must be a good problem solver. Otherwise, Miss Irina wouldn't be here right now talking to me, right?
People are the answer.
Yeah.
Talk to people, ask for help.
Yeah. You're always going to be taken care of, right? Okay. Now, I would love to talk about your personal pursuits as well. You did mention that writing is a big part of your life. What are some other activities you find yourself doing, recreational activities or hobbies you find yourself doing when you're not, working or traveling or going on podcasts like this?
It's the hardest question. Like, what do you do for fun, right? What do you do as a hobby? I run. I now have an excuse, like I have an answer. I run. I have run in Bukhara 2 times already.
Oh yeah.
On different routes. I do yoga. Also, yeah.
And you're telling me about this interesting analogy you have about jogging. Would you like to share that with our audience as well?
So running, I have a lot of analogies with running and with yoga also. A lot of them, really. Which one do I pick? I recently ran 10 kilometers in Zurich. like as an official race. I had run 10 kilometers before, but I got a medal.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
You did.
But it's not, I mean, everyone who finished got a medal. It's not like I got a medal because everyone who finished did. And a lot of people told me like, wow, this is impressive, 10 kilometers. It's not impressive. I have students who have run ultra marathons.
Like David Goggins style, 100 kilometers. You ever heard of David Goggins?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the guy. It was crazy.
Yes, and I find him inspiring, also extremely inspiring.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not really a lot, There are people who run much more. But it's also not very little. Some people tell me, Irina, I cannot even run 2 kilometers and you ran 10. But I just want to emphasize, like, it just doesn't fall on you out of the blue sky. You work towards it little by little. Maybe you cannot run 2 kilometers today, but maybe you can run 200 meters today, and then maybe 400 meters tomorrow, and 1 kilometer 1 month from now. No pressure. I mean, running is just I run outside. You leave the apartment, you go running, no pressure, no competition. And then eventually, little by little, you get to 10 kilometers or to a marathon or to an ultra marathon.
Do you listen to some music while you're running?
No.
No music?
No.
Well, why is that?
I like listening. And when I'm home, I'm always listening to either music or podcasts. That's why it's my time when I'm not listening to anything.
Right. And plus, it's risky business wearing headphones, running around this town. You might get hit by a car if you're not careful. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Or maybe someone's cycling towards you and you don't see them.
Yeah.
And you might get seriously injured.
Yeah. But that's not something I think about. But it's also something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Or is that because you're trying to collect your thoughts?
Yes.
And you don't want music there?
Yeah. Get away from everything. Yeah.
What do you think about while you're jogging?
I actually write in my mind.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like, do you like write a new essay or story from scratch, or is it something unfinished? And once you get back to your apartment, you put it on paper?
Anything. Could be a blog post, could be an essay, a paragraph, just a piece, or maybe editing some piece I wrote. Yeah.
While you're running?
Yeah. And sometimes I literally come home, I need to write it down, otherwise I will forget.
Do you ever like people watch while you're jogging? So you're running around this region or this neighborhood, and you see what other people are doing.
No,
this is not something just in your own world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I look. I notice fellow joggers, and in my hometown and in St. Petersburg, sometimes people wave at each other, those who run. And it's so nice. I always wave back.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have any like fitness goal you have in mind?
A marathon. What else?
Marathon, right? What kind of marathon would you like to run one day? What would be your personal...
42 kilometers, the classical one, 42 kilometers.
42 kilometer marathon. Yeah. So that's something on your bucket list you want to tick off.
Yeah. It never was until I ran 10. I ran 10, I thought, okay, I can multiply it by 4.
Yeah.
There's your marathon.
Wow. It's like your whole new version got unlocked.
Yeah.
New Irina.
Yes. That's why I find achievements inspiring, because when you achieve something, it gives you the confidence, okay, I can do it, which means like my next question is, what else can I do? Like in terms of, even in IELTS, for example, imagine you get all 9s. And like if I imagine myself, if I got all 9s, my next question would be, what else can I do? What's next?
Like all 10s? No, just kidding.
Exactly. And that's exactly the beauty part, because there's nothing after 9. What else? Then it's something that's even beyond image. Like you have to come up with it on your own.
That's actually how I started the podcast. I wasn't going to start this podcast until I got a 9. Yeah. After I got a 9, I realized, okay, what's next?
Yes.
Okay, then I said, all right, let me go and get a 9 again. And I did, second time. And then I said, okay, let me go and get it again, third time. but I failed miserably. I failed next 7 attempts back to back. And then I had to pause and reflect, try to understand what was going wrong. And I realized I didn't have the right energy, didn't have the right intentions. I was simply greedy.
Yes.
So I had to pause. I took a break for 3 months. And guess what happened? I got my third 9.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And now I'm wondering if I really need the fourth 9. I'd rather have more of these podcasts than get 9s because this is way more fun.
Yes.
Today we had a lot of fun.
Exactly.
We're having a lot of fun right now.
And it's infinite, and it's also personal. Because you're not writing a topic somebody gave you. You're talking about something you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's superior.
It is, and that's something ChatGPT or AI will never replace.
Exactly.
It is. All right, so we did a lot of talking about jogging. I'd love to know a little about your, podcast preferences. You said you love to listen to podcasts when you're home. So who's your favorite podcaster? Is Ad Astra Muse on your top 10?
I don't have a list. Ad Astra is on my, what do you call it, feed.
Okay. Are we on your top 100 or top 10 or?
I don't have a list. I'm so cautious in terms of giving recommendations.
Not a recommendation. Like, what is it you personally enjoy listening to or watching? I personally enjoy listening to. So I've lately been listening to this guy, Modern Wisdom. Modern. I'm not sure if you know this guy. He's just
Chris Williams.
That guy.
Okay.
That guy.
Oh, Williamson.
Yeah. It's that guy. And also, I'm not listening to Joe Rogan as much anymore because I kind of think his podcasts are getting wacky. Yeah, but I do listen to him occasionally when he has some controversial, polarizing figures. Like recently, he had Tucker Carlson on the podcast, and they talked about the whole concept, aliens and God, and the good old battle between good and evil, and that was fascinating stuff to listen to, because Tucker Carlson is someone conservative and religious, right? And Joe Rogan is someone who doesn't believe in divinity, and that was an interesting debate to listen to.
Okay. I saw the suggestion from YouTube, but when I saw the name of the guest, I was like, no way, I'm listening to him. But yeah, maybe it was a kind of a stereotype on my part. That.
So who do you listen to, person?
I listen to Joe Rogan occasionally. It depends on the guest, because sometimes he has guests that I don't know. So, but I listen to Jordan Peterson.
Wow, that's good. That's great.
Right, and he's probably like the one that I listen to consistently. Joe Rogan, like sporadically.
What do you like about Jordan Peterson's podcasts?
Oh, I like that he expresses unusual, controversial opinions from a point of view I didn't think about. I guess that's it.
What really captivates me about Jordan Peterson is the level of his sophistication in his thinking.
Yeah, depth
of his thinking. That is, it takes you down a rabbit hole of say he's talking about religion, he's talking about depression, or he's talking about whatever this topic it is, he is talking about in such depth, and his ability to stay focused on that argument for a sustained amount of time.
Yeah,
that's just wow. That's just wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but sometimes it gets too much though. It's a lot of processing for an average person. Even for someone who does a lot of writing, that's a lot of deep thinking.
Exactly. And sometimes I was trying to read his book. I'm reading his book. It's even worse. Like you have to read a little bit of it, and then you have to stop, and it will be on your mind somewhere. Yeah.
Right. And that brings me actually to the next part of the podcast where I'd like to talk a little philosophy.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, well, we're about to, wrap up, and we have this tradition where we like to end things on philosophical note. Would you like to share with us your personal philosophy? What's your philosophy in life?
I don't have a philosophy, really. I never thought about it. But I knew that you, that you asked this question.
What's something that gets you up in the morning? Like, why do you go to work? Is it, or why you would like to help other people? What's something that drives you? What's at the core, at the center of your thinking?
You really have to tap into, maybe connect with yourself, because there is so many artificial layers on us that you really need to connect with yourself. Like, what do you like? What do you like doing? I think right now I'm in a very good place because I'm self-employed. I have the freedom. I like IELTS. Okay, I can teach IELTS. I like creative writing. Okay, I can teach creative writing. And it's really, it sounds like a cliche, but really find the thing that you love. Another thing that, also like help others. You help others. Yeah, do things for others. Do things for others.
So you're driven by passion and service, desire to serve.
I do not have a desire to serve, but I realized when I help people and like they are grateful and they do amazing things, and it makes me feel so good when I see them. Like I mentioned my creative writing people who have been joining over and over again, and I see this growth. And this is like, oh my God, like this is beyond imagination, really. Yeah.
It is a form of service, though, if you think about it, because there are a lot of people with amazing talents and skills, but they choose not to help others. They keep them to themselves.
Right. When it comes to creative writing, disclaimer, I have no talent or skill. My creative writing participants are much better at writing than me. But I don't do it intentionally. I realize I somehow stumbled into those people and we collaborate and the result is awesome. But I don't want to claim like, oh, I want to serve others. But doing things for others is absolutely like, this is what will fill you with unimaginable joy. Right.
It's interesting, fascinating philosophy. And one last question I have for today is, what's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self, your 16-year-old self, or all the other 15, 16-year-olds out there watching this podcast? Because the majority of our viewers are young demographics. So what's one message you would like to put out there?
Maybe start early in terms of trying things like volunteering. I started all these things much later in life. Volunteering, like doing projects for free, trying social media. I got an Instagram so late, and I mean for my professional account, not for my personal account. Telegram, for example, I wish I had started it sooner, again, for my professional purposes. Whatever it is, I mean, creative writing, try it sooner, because this is how you will be able to figure out what you like. This is how you will connect with yourself by trying and by getting the experience. And I mean here opportunities, like exchange programs, for example. Like all opportunities, like real opportunities. Like, I mean, don't get on Instagram for entertainment.
I was actually going to say that. I was going to say, please don't say young people get on Instagram or Telegram because they're already there.
Right. And I was behind
Ms. Irina meant to say for professional reasons, right?
I mean, all this thing I don't do much entertainment. I mean, I think reels and all these things are just such a waste of time, most of them. So yeah.
All right, Miss Irina, today was a blast. I enjoyed thoroughly talking to you, and I learned a lot. It was so profound, this conversation we had, entertaining, fascinating, right? Well, whatever adjective you can think of. And I can't thank you enough for coming all the way from Russia to come on the podcast. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our viewers, right, guys? So
the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was such a pleasure, really. You have we have lights here, and we have people here. we have the team. It was such a pleasure. My first time, like I'm in a studio, and I enjoyed it immensely. You are such a great podcaster, really. Thank you so much.
And you're an awesome guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave us your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.